Gabriel?
Some of the tunnels are 80 feet high. Some are narrow and cramped. Some are as big as banqueting halls. Some went a few hundred feet and then abruptly stopped.
Gabriel?
Others linked into a network that has never been fully explored. The cavern was just another underground tunnel, but they found an alternative use for it, and in doing so introduced Liverpool to my vocabulary. I was a 13-year-old schoolboy when news of the Beatles first reached my part of the world. Maybe that's why it implanted itself in my mind to become my favorite English city. Maybe somewhere in a barn, 4 young men are putting together a band that will put Iowa on the map in the same way. Then again, maybe not.
Nice when they take the trouble to make you feel at home.
You'll be surprised to hear me say this, but the British truly are the happiest people on earth. Who else, after all, would think it fun to grab some 1,000-year-old reindeer antlers and caper about on a village green? As an outsider, there's nothing more pleasurable or heartwarming or surprising than to sit down and quietly watch the infinite, unpredictable variations that go to make up the British at play. All this may look a bit silly. That's because it is a bit silly. But embedded in these ancient traditions is something rather more profound, a deep-rooted inventiveness where it comes to filling the moments between toil and sleep, but with one very important twist.
No other nation has given the world more games than Britain. Football, rugby, golf, tennis, cricket. Never mind that very often, pretty generally in fact, the rest of the world beats you at these games. There's a reason for this, I think. Unlike other nations, the British almost never fail to forget that it is, after all, just a game.
Maybe it's because I come from a place where winning all too often is everything, that I like the relaxed, low-key, this is obviously not the most important thing in the universe nature of the Highland Games at Glenfinnan. In a full day here, I never once saw a stopwatch, or a look that didn't have a smile just behind it.
I wouldn't like to say that the British are the only people in the world who would travel in large numbers to a remote Highland glen to stand in wind and rain and watch men in skirts flinging heavy objects around a boggy field. But the British are the only people in the world who would travel in large numbers to a remote...
Given a choice between the sort of industrial East German approach that leads to Olympic gold medals and the beguiling, good-natured spirit of play that leads to this, I'll take this. And then there's cricket. Cricket is the only sport in the world that incorporates meal breaks. It's almost the only sport, other than perhaps baking, in which you can dress in white from head to toe and be as clean at the end of the day as you were at the beginning.
There's some sports I'll just never understand. But for those who think this is slow...
The 3rd annual British Pipe Smoking Championship. It's 42 grown men in a cricket pavilion, each with a pipe, a half-ounce of shag, 2 matches, a little poking stick, and a dream of national glory. One of the few sports where you come first by coming last.
So how's it going this year, Martin?
We've still got more than 50% of the field still in.
What do they have to get to do the British?
1 hour, 16 and 32 seconds.
So is last year's champion still up and running?
No, Lawrence Malden is out, but the British record holder is Len with the green cap.
There are two schools of thought on how to smoke a pipe competitively. There is the British freestyle method, wherein you smoke much as you would a normal pipe, but slowly. Then there is the rather more earnest continental method, known as ember chasing, where you carefully advance a single glowing ember around the bowl.
Are they a seething mass inside, though? Are they actually...
Well, yes,
or
there is a fair bit at stake. I mean, it definitely has a sort of a serious edge.
Suffice it to say that the winner used the continental ember chasing method and almost doubled the record to a little over 2 hours. If there's one place in Britain that basks in records, it's Blackpool. Blackpool's beaches used to be among the dirtiest in Europe, but it recently spent £300 million cleaning them up. Now the turds sparkle. They don't boast about that, but there are lots of other superlatives they take pride in.
It gets more visitors every year than Greece and has more holiday accommodation than Portugal. It leads the world in the per capita consumption of chips. Every day the town gets through 40 acres of potatoes. And on Friday and Saturday nights, it has more public conveniences than anywhere on earth. Elsewhere, they call them doorways.
We didn't have seaside holidays when I was growing up, largely because we didn't have a seaside. From Iowa, the nearest bit of ocean is 1,000 miles in any direction. Perhaps that accounts for why I've never entirely understood the traditional British seaside holiday. Call me odd, but sitting in a shelter or riding a tram is not my idea of a day to remember. Still, I have to admit there's something about it that I find strangely appealing, and all the more so now that the traditional seaside holiday is fast becoming a thing of the past. When you're in Blackpool, it's hard not to feel that you're walking through a piece of yesterday.
Salandine House?
I happen to like yesterdays. Phil Kelsall has been playing at the Tower Ballroom for 30 years, and people come from all over to watch his organ rise. Ask anyone of a certain age what the Tower Ballroom used to be like, and they will tell you it was heaving. These days, most of the heaving in Blackpool is on the pavements on Friday and Saturday nights. Imagine if golf were to fall out of fashion and you could have St. Andrews pretty much to yourself anytime you wanted. That's what it's like for Fred and Winnie Smith, ballroom dance fanatics. Home for them for 6 months of the year is a metal box with a beige racing stripe down the side. They love it, for here they find the good old-fashioned qualities of neighborliness and community that are increasingly elusive elsewhere.
Hello,
Mr.
Bill.
Smith, hello.
Nice to see you.
Very nice to see you.
My word, you're a tall fella.
Well,
How do you
thank
do?
Hello, Mr. Smith, how are you?
Sit down.
Thank you. So this is home, is it?
Certainly is.
Yeah.
Our second home is this, yes. A country home.
Right.
Very relaxing.
And how much of the year do you spend here?
We're here early April while the end of October. Really enjoyed this area. I do crown green bowling every day, and it's only 2 minutes away from the caravan site. Other than that, if it rains, we're going to Blackpool Tower dancing, and we go there every Saturday, including winter. We really enjoy our life around here.
So do you feel safer here than you do at home in
Oh,
Burnley?
definitely, yes. Nice quiet area around here, especially around the Lytham area. It's a little bit noisier in St Anne's, but Blackpool is atrocious. But round here, it's like pre-war Britain, 1938-39.
Especially Lytham.
Very nice
Lytham's
people come on this side, very nice.
So why not just, move to a place like this year-round?
Sure,
I won't move.
Why not?
The last time I moved, I said, that is it.
But-
No carpets on the floor for 9 months, that wouldn't, no.
yes, but that's in the past, isn't it? But at the age of 27, I'm not likely to move again, am I? As long as I get here.
What if I make Fred promise you now that there'll be carpets on the floor? Will you move then?
Curtains as well.
Curtains as well?
Well, that wouldn't be so bad, would it?
Last time I was in Blackpool, I didn't like it at all. Now, with the sun out, I have to say it doesn't look half bad. Or perhaps it only looks half bad. Blackpool revels in being tacky, but tacky with panache. She's the painted lady of British seaside resorts. Whereas you feel that Brighton went to finishing school, Blackpool went to the school of hard knocks.
Oh, Rudy, you should have been down last night. It was brilliant. Instead of watching football, you'd have seen a brilliant show.
I heard all about it. They told me.
It breeds a special kind of person, a person for whom life takes on a certain tinge of excitement by being, quite literally, a drag.
Why do they make up stories that link my name with yours? Why do the neighbors gossip all day behind their doors? I'm only to do what they say is quiet.
I don't suppose the joys of the traditional seaside holiday will ever grab me now. I don't need or want saucy postcards or kiss-me-quick hats, or a sugar confection in the shape of a nipple. You may keep cockles and whelks and all the other semi-edible creatures that live beneath the sand. However magical it may be to others, to me a man in a dress singing is, well, just a man in a dress singing. But I wouldn't change a bit of it. I mean that most sincerely. I'm quite serious when I say that I think Blackpool ought to be a World Heritage Site. I would hate to see it go. Just don't ask me to spend a holiday there. Newcastle city centre on a Saturday afternoon. I get the feeling something is going on here. Perhaps an international chess congress or something. No, it's a football match, of course. From all the noise and commotion, not to mention press coverage, an outsider walking the wrong way could be excused for thinking that this is the most popular leisure time activity in Britain, or at least Tyneside. In fact, no. This is shopping. In a full season, Newcastle United attracts crowds of around 1.1 million. At the Metro Centre in Gateshead, they get those kinds of numbers in a fortnight. We used to build civilizations. Now we build shopping malls. I'm continually astounded at how Britain has changed. When I first came here in the 70s, there were no shopping malls. Hardly anyone had credit cards or current accounts. There were only about half as many cars as there are now. Indeed, in those days, people didn't actually drive their cars. They just parked them in the driveway and buffed them up once a week or so. People asked you if you were on the phone. Ravioli was an exotic foreign food. A Big Mac was just a large raincoat. Now you can have pretty much whatever you want, whenever you want it. You've joined us Americans in creating a must-have society.
7 and 1, 71.
That's why I like bingo so much. It harkens back to a simpler age, and with payouts to match. Unlike the lottery, which for most people raises hopes that haven't the slightest chance of being fulfilled, bingo doesn't promise to change your life, just enliven it for a bit.
3 and 2, 32.
There's no question that Britain has become a much more dynamic society, but I can't help wonder if it hasn't paid a price for this. The lottery, and this is my problem with it, represents a change in expectations. The British have a particular relationship with small pleasures that I would hate to see spoiled.
New York, Paris, Peterborough, £495. Very tempting.
Indeed, the British are the only people I know who could wonder if 4 wheels isn't excessive. So say what you will about Robin Reliant owners, the one thing you can't normally accuse them of is delusions of grandeur. That isn't to say that they can't have aspirations.
I'm not a train spotter, I'm a rail enthusiast, it's a bit different.
Oh, you have to explain that to me.
I don't wear an anorak, I don't wear specs, I don't have a pen and a pencil book or anything like that. The reason why I do it,
So you're train spotter with class.
But when did you start collecting?
I've been collecting that long, probably 10 years.
You say everybody's interested in railways, which is true enough, but most people don't dress their cars in the livery of railway companies.
It was just a bit of fun, really, Billy.
Do you get teased much about it?
Yeah.
What do people say to you?
Well, I think, to be quite honest, they've not made the jokes that I expected. They're more sort of saying, what a good job I've done on it, you know, and this sort of thing. But you get many laughs.
If you won the lottery, what would you go out and buy yourself?
I wouldn't mind a sort of a little private line and buy 2 or 3 engines. And
full size?
Oh, yeah.
Ken White is the quintessence of what is best about the British. He has a sense of humor. He doesn't take himself too seriously, and his wants are modest. His hobby is a simple one. He collects conductors' hats, and railway pens, and teapots and plates, and safety manuals and platform posters, and mugs and maps, and ties and badges and tractors. But he's right, there isn't an anorak in the house. His Lincolnshire home is sort of half toy shop, half museum.
So you run them even though you're not watching them?
Yeah, you know, I come in here from time to time and just give them a run round to run a lot of the locos in. You know, it helps to, like if you get a new car, you know, it runs in.
Right.
Ken spent hundreds and hundreds of hours building this model railway, but that isn't his real passion. His real passion is real railways.
So is it just the engines you're looking at, or is it the whole train?
Well, the train, you know, the overall train, you know, like these freight liners, you get a lot of freight liners, but you're looking for that, just that unusual thing, because I've got all the engines on British Rail anyway, so it's a matter of catching the unusual. If a certain engine's been put on a train where it don't normally work, the classes work different trains.
So how long would you stand on a platform like that?
12 hours.
12 hours?
Yeah, sometimes longer.
And how many trains would you film?
Ken still had 292 hours of videos to watch. I made my excuses and left. I had to catch a ferry. Windermere, unofficial capital of the Lake District, one of the most beautiful areas in Britain. 12 million people a year come to the lakes. That's 4 times as many people as visit Yellowstone National Park in America, and in an area a quarter of the size. What the vast majority of the 12 million visitors do, and remember that's nearly a quarter of the entire population, is as unselfish as it gets. Instead of wearing down the mountains, they confine their activities to looking at knickknacks, trying on woolens, or deciding between a postcard of Big Ben or St. Paul's to send to friends in London, before pausing to consider buying a souvenir walking stick for the long hike back to the car park. Bowness has 32 places where you can buy a knitted tie, yet try and get something that's life-sustaining, and you'll struggle.
Oh, a bakery. That makes a change.
Britain hasn't got any of the world's great geographical masterpieces. I mean the big ones. And let me say right now, you don't need them. How ridiculous would Everest sit if it were in East Anglia? The Grand Canyon would cut the country in half. The Amazon Delta would consume whales. So nothing big, nothing long. But you have got legendary fell runner Joss Naylor, a man who's never let the restrictions of living on a small island hold him back. Joss has done the equivalent of scaling Everest simply by running up the 70 tallest mountains in the Lake District. Did I say simply? He did it in a single day.
Wow.
In the States, there are, on average, 68 people for every square mile. In France, it's 256. In Britain, it's 600, although it doesn't seem like that when you swap the high street for the high land. Just about daily for the past half-century, Joss has run over the Lakeland Fells, not letting the little things stop him, like the weather, shearing 100 sheep, or, as on this occasion, a broken rib.
Well, hi, corrector. I'd be in bed on the third day, and here you are running up a foul.
I took a painkiller this morning, which wore off now, like, you know. It's a bit of a nuisance, really.
But you do seem a kind of indestructible guy. You don't mind my asking, how old are you now?
Me, 62.
62. And you've just run up a hill that's how tall?
Oh, it's just over 2,000 feet, about 2.2 or something like that.
How tough is it here in the winter? I mean, it looks lovely here today. What's it like here?
Well, in winter, I've got the tendency to keep off a lot of ridge running, you know, unless it is dry and sunny weather. Because even when it's raining in the bottom here, and you get up there, it's maybe, you know, I would say 10, 15 degrees colder. And then maybe you think I'll go over Red Pike, and probably the last 200 feet, it'll have that black ice on because of the coolness up there. And it can be very, very dangerous, like, you know. One of the runs I did in 1976, 76, 75, was a 24-hour run in the Lake District. It took 23 hours, 11 minutes, and I think it was something like 107 mile. And there was 37,000 feet of ascent, and I went up and down 72 mountains.
How did you feel afterwards?
Great. I come home and milked the cow and did a day's work.
Did you really? I enjoy the term fell running, if only because it's enough to confuse about 98% of my fellow countrymen. There's one other British outdoor pursuit which has an equally enchanting name and provides an insight into the national character. The South Africans trek, New Zealanders tramp, Germans hike, but the British, and the British alone, ramble. Just the very sound of it is a mild form of exercise for your tongue. Nothing too strenuous like expedition. It conjures up a stroll of sensible proportions, one without the need of a compass or overnight survival gear, where the target at the end of the day isn't some lofty peak, but a tea room. But for a real day out, you can't beat the British seaside, that unique combination of wind and rain, sand and boredom. I avoided all four with Victoria Wood. Did you go to the seaside when you were a kid?
We went to Blackpool and we went to Fleetwood and all the places on the Fylde coast across from where we lived in Manchester. We used to drive over.
So you used to go every year? I mean, that was your annual holiday?
No, we used to do that for days out. For holidays, we went in a caravan and went abroad, usually. But if we wanted to run out, we went to the seaside.
Do you go to the seaside with your own kids?
I don't usually. I did take them to Weymouth the other day, and it was freezing cold, and the waves were whipping up the beach, and they had a fantastic time. They did that terrible British thing of getting in their underwear and then walking around in wet knickers the rest of the day and getting blue. I don't know why British people like to turn blue on their holidays, but they do.